Backyard Farmer is a co-production of Nebraska Public Media and Nebraska Extension. Tonight on Backyard Farmer, we'll show you the best way to submit a garden sample and count how many seeds there are in a dandelion. That's all coming up next, right here on Backyard Farmer.
Hello again and welcome to Backyard Farmer. Thanks for joining us again for another hour of good gardening. We can help you with your gardening questions if you want to give us a call at 1-800-676-5446. Our master gardeners are waiting to take your call. We'll also take your pictures and emails for a future show. That address is byf@unl.edu. Make sure you tell us as much as you can about your question, including where you live. And don't forget to follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Right now, it is time for a bit of show and tell. And unfortunately, Kyle, you found those in our Backyard Farmer garden.
I did find these asparagus beetles in the Backyard Farmer garden. And there's more than one species there. So these, this is kind of the time of year to start thinking about asparagus beetles. The species I have here is common asparagus beetle, and they're kind of this bluish black with these kind of cream colored spots and a little bit of red around. It's moving kind of fast there, but otherwise there's also a larva on here, which is kind of this grayish color right here. And then we also have some eggs, which are just these little black dots on there, kind of small, hard to see. But these are something that they overwinter as adults in asparagus, and they'll, something you want to watch for basically when those spears start coming up. And they can cause quite a bit of problems. As the adults feed, they'll cause the spears to be distorted, very problematic. You can just go out and hand pick them. That's probably the simplest thing to do.
Unless you have an entire field of it, or...
Yeah, in that case, you want to make sure that you get that cleaned up and kind of reduce overwintering of those.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Okay, Terry, we had a great discussion about what in the world that could be, should be, and is, and
yeah.
What do you have?
Well, Kyle was in the garden yesterday and got asparagus beetle. I was in the garden today and I got pokeweed. So this is a pokeweed, most likely 2 or 3 years old. If you can see here, you can see where it's been cut and is regrowing. So who knows how long it's been in here. But I didn't get the whole root, so I'm hoping that I got most of it, that most of it's not coming up. And you can see how long, so it's maybe 3 feet long at least. And I broke off the end. But really what I wanted to remind everybody was go out and get some of these kind of bigger, especially perennial weeds earlier in their life, before they get to be this big and they're hard to get rid of. And if you cut them back, they're just going to keep growing. And as you can see, it was very happy. It's not going to be happy anymore, so.
And again, they are toxic, right? So.
Well, unless you ask Lauren, but.
Well, this is true. Don't graze on it in your garden. All right, Terry, thank you. Amy, that one is a little bitty thing in comparison. What do you have?
It is tiny. So what I brought with me is peony today. Our peonies are in bloom or about ready to bloom, depending on where you're at in the state. If you look at the top here, I got black nastiness, which is what happens in rots and spots. Some maybe would consider this as the start of botrytis blight, but in my situation, that is not the case. With the cold weather the last 2 weeks, I put a cattle lick tub on top of my peony so it wouldn't freeze. And then I forgot to take the lick tub off. And so this is actually Scorch because the tub got hot then in that afternoon and all that plastic. But just keep in mind, if you had covered your peonies and you're seeing some black on them, don't jump to conclusions that it's botrytis. It could be Scorch, depending on what time you got that lick tub finally pulled off of those little plants.
All right, thanks, Amy. Scott, you get always the beauty in the sample world. What do you have tonight?
Tonight I have two separate plants. The big plant behind, these are your iris. We're having a really great year on the eastern side of the state. The bad part of being in a drought, we're not getting rain, but the good part is that our flowers are not getting knocked over. So iris are great. They're just a really great plant. They're fragrant. And up here, up front, is the white fringe tree. This is more of a small tree, tall shrub. It's in full bloom right now, very fragrant. It's in the same family as lilac, so it has great fragrance. The bad part, it is in the olive family. It might be an alternate host for EAB here.
All right, thank you, Scott, and that is quite beautiful and fragrant. All right, first round of questions. Kyle, you have 3 pictures on this one. This is a hanging basket. She has a ton of little insect-looking things, and she's thinking insect frass. And she had 3 baskets, and she's got 15 at least. She wants to know what they are and how to get rid of them. So 1, 2, 3, what do we have?
They are aphids, not quite frass, but the caskins. So as they grow, they have to shed their exoskeleton, and that's what those little white things are. It's the remaining exoskeleton as they grow. Aphids are, relatively well controlled with insecticidal soaps, so that's what I would go for on these, is just thorough coverage with an insecticidal soap.
All right, and that came to us from Palmer, Nebraska.
Okay.
So 1 picture on this one. This is a little bit of a stumper. What is on this lily, and what does he need to do about it?
I don't know what's on this lily. I don't think it's insect related. It doesn't look like, this, definitely not like webbing from spider mites, doesn't look like it's sort of, mealybug or anything like that. Maybe once it blooms, pictures, sending those in, see what it's like, possibly sending in a sample to the Plant Pest Diagnostic Clinic. We can look at it and see. It could just be sort of a physiological thing going on, or maybe something else, don't know.
Or a hairy lily.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Let's see, Terry. This looks like a herbicide mistake, and the question is, how can it be fixed?
Well, it depends on which herbicide they use. So I'm hoping that they know for sure what it is. To me, it kind of looked like glyphosate damage. If that's what it was, then I would probably clean up the dead, put some compost down. You can try to overseed now. You're going to be kind of fighting the heat right now, now that it's getting hotter throughout the season. But if you can protect it and get enough mulch down there, you could potentially maybe get some regrowth earlier in the season. Otherwise, you're going to wait to do some overseeding in the fall.
And hopefully remember what seed they use so they can match.
Yeah, that would be a good bonus.
2 pictures from Omaha. No idea what this plant is. She wonders if she should keep it as a pollinator, but she also has 3 little pugs that think they're pigs and they'll eat anything. So what do we think this is?
I think it's one of the nightshades. Not for sure which one it is. Sometimes I have to wait till they get a little bit bigger before you can kind of distinguish them from one and the other. But they can be toxic, both the plant and the berries. So if you have little pugs that like to be digging around, I would probably remove this one out of your landscape. I'd probably make sure that you use some gloves, because some detritus on your hand maybe, but yeah, just get rid of it.
All right. Amy from Papillion. This is 3 pictures. What is causing the spots and brown discoloration on the irises? It's in full sun. They did get some frost damage, and these are very old. She sent a really nice story about these. They've had them 25 years. They did divide. They've never seen this before.
So what they're dealing with here is called iris leaf spot, very fitting for this disease. It's a fungal disease. The big thing is it overwinters in residue, so sanitation becomes the big thing, whether this fall or early spring before they start to emerge. If you're concerned about it right now, You can spray it with a fungicide if you're going to be looking at a product with chlorothalonil as an active ingredient and mycobutanol. Follow the label instructions on how soon those reapplications need to be. Otherwise, just really look at good sanitation come this fall.
All right, repeat those two names slowly.
Chlorothalonil and mycobutanol.
Great, thanks, Amy. Woodbine, Iowa. Several trees and plants are showing small spots. Some are white, some are brown. They did receive some hail, and she's wondering, is this hail damage or leaf spot?
So for this first plant, I really can't tell. It could be the start of a leaf spot. I talked with Kyle. It could be spider mites. Also, don't think so. But if it's spider mites, try to put the card underneath and tap it and look for webbing underneath. Would be one thing to look at. Just wait and see what happens. Now, the second picture is a different plant. We have our peonies. This is leaf scorch on peony, very common fungal disease. Once again, we're going to be looking at sanitation here, making sure our peonies are 3 to 4 feet apart so we get that good airflow in there. This is one I do not recommend a fungicide application for because it really doesn't hurt the peony long term.
All right, and one picture from Hastings had Clematis that came with the house. She's fertilized, and this happens every year on one Clematis.
So this to me looks definitely environmental or nutritional. So keep in mind, Clematis do need 6 hours of sunshine, but the roots need to be protected, but well drained. They don't like wet feet at all. You have been fertilizing. The trick with Clematis, we can see iron deficiency, which is sometimes related to pH. So your best bet is actually to collect a soil sample and send it into a lab to see what those macro and micronutrients are and what the pH is of that soil, and that might be the solution to your problem.
Great. Scott from Randolph, he's wondering if this is sun scald on his eggplant, environmental or herbicide. He did purchase it from the greenhouse and then put it right straight out into his raised bed.
This just looks like sunburn, more environmental than anything. Plants that are coming straight from the garden center, they may not have been hardened off completely, so the plant's going to be fine.
All right. And from Valentine, lilacs are not blooming this spring. He didn't say anything about when he pruned or what he's done, so.
The plant definitely needs a little bit of love. There's 2 options. You can be bold, dramatic, and just whack the whole thing back down to the ground and hope for the best. Or the other option would be do the 3-year method, that each year take a third and a third back, try to focus on the dead wood first, and then next year maybe a little bit more, but those would be your options.
Great. And from La Vista, 3 of the rose bushes are long and leggy with no growth. Are those branches dead, and should she prune them off?
They definitely look dead. They should have greened up by now, so go ahead and just follow those stems back to where it's green and just make a good clean cut, and the plant's going to be fine.
Great. On our show, we look at a lot of pictures and we hear about what might be the problem with your garden plants, but there really isn't a substitute for a good sample sent to our lab here on campus. Here's Kyle to show us the best way to send your sample.
Well, spring has certainly sprung in Nebraska, and there are a lot of plants in our gardens and landscapes that are starting to look beautiful, coming up green. We're starting to see some beautiful flowers, but there's also a few plants that aren't coming up so well. Or maybe we have some seedlings that aren't thriving the way that we would hope. Maybe some roses that aren't greening up the way that we would expect them to. Well, if you're dealing with this, the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic is here to help. We are a full-service diagnostic clinic. We handle everything from the rots and the spots, to the insects, to the weeds, the environmental and abiotic type issues that we often see. And luckily, it's not just me in the clinic, but we have a great group of people who help, including Dr. Kyle Cook and Terry James, routinely assist with samples. Our email address is plantclinic@unl.edu, and we always recommend contacting us prior to submitting a sample just so we can make sure that we are getting the right type of thing. If we get the wrong leaves or the wrong stems, we might not ever figure out exactly what's going on with that sample. Any sample is only as good as the background information provided. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Where are you from? Where is this growing? How much sunlight does it have? How long have these problems been going on? But then we also want to make sure that we're collecting the right type of sample and packing it correctly. And so we do ask that you submit everything in a sealable plastic bag, because we want to make sure that we're not letting those samples dry out. Sometimes when we're pulling up samples, there's a lot of soil. And unfortunately, if we have a lot of soil in that sample, it can really obscure the results that we tend to see. One thing that we recommend, one bag just around the root zone to try to contain as much of that soil as we can. We can put that whole sample inside of another bag, and this way we keep the soil and whatever pathogens may be in the soil from affecting the leaves and causing more problems there. We always recommend that you send in as much of the plant as possible. And again, once we've collected that sample, packaged it correctly, we always want to make sure that we're labeling that sample as well, just so that we know when it comes into the diagnostic clinic, so we know who it's from, exactly what it is. We can put it in a box or a padded envelope, and you can just mail that to the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic. Or if you're local, you're more than welcome to swing by the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic located on UNL's East Campus. And now, depending on the time of year, depending on how many samples are coming into the clinic, we can get somewhat overloaded. On average, we see between 1,500 and 2,000 samples per year, and I physically touch every one of those. As such, if you ever think it's been too long with no communication, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask what the status of your sample is. Base charge is $25 for any sample to be submitted, just to pay for the cost of supplies. If you are seeing anything that's not looking so great in your garden or in your landscape, again, the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic with UNL Extension is here to help, and we are more than happy to help solve these problems.
If you get stumped as to what's wrong with your plants, give us a call or send us a picture. But if we're all out of answers, Kyle will be happy to take your sample. All right, speaking of Kyle's, 2 pictures. And this is, what can she do to stop this bug from damaging her peony plants?
Nothing. This is looks like a sap beetle, which we do see them at flowers, buds for various flowers, including peonies. They're feeding on sap, nectar, etc. They're not causing any harm to it. I think some of that yellowing below, that looks like maybe some sort of pathogen, something else going on, but not related to that beetle.
All right, thanks, Kyle. From Lincoln and the Ponca Hills area, so 2 different locations, exact same problem. This is perennials, infection, fungus, nutrient, and of course this is phlox.
Yep, it's the familiar phlox plant bug. So they can be pretty nasty. They cause this kind of characteristic stippling. And there are these kind of reddish and black bugs, and they like to hide on the underside. So if you probably turn those over, you'll find plenty of bugs. They do lay their eggs in the fall in the stems, and then they overwinter as eggs in those dead stems. So really the best thing you can do to manage those is cleaning those up in the winter, so that you're reducing that population the following spring.
All right. From Omaha or Lincoln, or where anybody has columbine, what are the squiggly lines, and what is the green worm, and what can be done?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things going on here. The first is a leaf miner, columbine leaf miner, and this is actually a fly that they tunnel in between the upper and lower surface of the leaf, kind of mining it out. It's mostly cosmetic. They don't really harm the plant, but obviously it doesn't make it look very nice. Probably the best thing to do to manage that is just pulling off those, removing any affected tissue or leaves, because once they're inside, you can't really treat them with anything. Timing is very difficult. This other one is a sawfly, and same thing, just kind of removing those by hand picking them off is probably the best thing. You can also use an insecticidal soap for those.
All right, there is a variegated columbine, which isn't nearly as pretty as that.
Yeah.
All right, Terry from Lincoln. Well, spreading his pre-emerge and his fertilizer April 10th, whoops on the spreader, and he ended up with stripes. He wonders, should he go over it again, or will it green up without going over it again?
Yeah, I would probably err on the side of caution on this one. I wouldn't want you to go over it for fear that you would over fertilize it. So I would probably leave it for now and kind of see, but be careful going into this hotter season. Do good management, deep watering, at least an inch a week if we don't get any supplemental rain. Don't run the system for like 10 minutes and then hope it runs for longer so you can get that root system deeper down, and I think you'll probably be fine. If you're doing like those step programs, you can probably go ahead and do that fertilizer later in the summer, but really you can wait again until fall to do kind of a late summer light fertilizer.
All right. Omaha, she's got this nasty weed growing next to her house, covered with thorns, and it's also a vine that entangles itself. And when it comes out straight out of the ground, it's kind of purple.
Yeah, this is greenbrier. It's kind of cool, sort of, I guess. But nasty, like a cool nasty. So most likely a bird brought this to you because they really do like the berries. You're going to cut it at the base, and then you're going to paint that base with like a broadleaf herbicide or glyphosate or something like that. You most likely are going to have to probably do a couple applications. Just keep cutting it back, and it should eventually go away.
Takes a while on that one. And 2 picks on this one from Lincoln. This, they're saying this weed has a tough, long root system, and they're sharing it through and beyond the fence.
My guess is this is sweet autumn clematis is what it kind of looks like. And I have been seeing a lot of sweet autumn clematis all over the place. Beautiful blooms in the fall, and then you get those beautiful puffy seed heads that fly all over the place, and then this is the result that you get. If they're little, then you can continually just pull them out and get rid of them. If they are getting bigger and you've kind of let them grow, then you're going to kind of manage them like I just talked about the catbrier, where you're going to kind of cut it back and then paint that root system to try to get rid of it that way with a herbicide.
All right, Amy from Omaha, she wonders whether these yews have yew needle blight. It has been dry, of course. She did have a pH test done, pH is 7, and 1 was doing it, and now more are, and no insects because she did take it to the extension office. So we've got 2 picks on this one, and I think we have 2 that's also a yew from Underwood, Iowa. So what do you think here?
So we'll start with the 2 yews that we're seeing right here. It does not look like needle blight to me. The color is wrong. It's too yellow. It usually is a more brown yellow coloration. To me, the yellowing is indicating drought, winter desiccation. If you look at that sidewalk, it's very close, and we had a fairly warm winter. If you weren't watering over the winter months, there's a lot of radiation that's coming off of those pavers. So I would look at really deep watering those yews, improving your mulch around it just to help hold that moisture associated with those 2 yews.
All right, and the 2 from Underwood, dead foliage on the tips. They were 2 years, hard frost. They looked perfect, and he thinks they're going to grow out of it.
I think you're right. So what you're seeing here is actually frost damage on those brand new candles that we're elongating. The big trick with this is being patient. They should shoot off some new needles and buds coming here shortly. Don't get too anxious and worked up about it. Once you start seeing those new shoots, you can go in there and prune very lightly to remove those brown tips, but be careful not to trim off your new shoots also with it. So just give it some time. It should be just fine.
Great. Scott, Omaha, unsure what happened to this. They've lived here 6 to 7 years. It was green and healthy, but this year it's brown and does not appear healthy.
No, it does not. Not quite sure what has happened. This is definitely a grafted evergreen. Something could have happened to that graft where it didn't make it over the winter. You could give it a couple more weeks, but the likelihood it's not going to come back.
All right, another opportunity to buy a new plant.
Exactly.
Syracuse, her question is, why is only one spruce yellowing and not the rest? And what do they need to do to save the tree?
That's a really good question. This looks more like an environmental type issue. We're not quite sure what has happened. There could have been, we need more information. Like, was that gravel lot sprayed with any type of herbicide? Did it drift? Did it move through? We just need more information. It doesn't look positive. Spruce trees are a shorter lived tree. Just water, wait and watch.
Yeah, and on that one,
Yeah.
get ready. All right, also Omaha, she had a flamethrower redbud, didn't make it through the winter. There's a sucker. She wonders whether she should dig up the tree and relocate it, or whether she should maybe see what this one turns into.
The flamethrower redbud is a grafted tree, so this is going to be the parent, the graft type. It's not going to be true to type. A lot of those new cultivars of redbud are not performing as well as we would like them to be. You could give it a go, dig it up, see what happens. You have nothing to lose, but yeah.
Yeah, they will sucker from the base, but
Yes.
like you say, you may not get what you got.
Right.
Exactly. It's finally planting time at the garden. We've had a week to get our plants hardened off, and now the fun begins. Let's take a minute to hear from Terry at the Backyard Farmer Garden.
This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we are ready to plant. Super excited about this. There are a few things that I kind of have to keep in mind when I'm doing this. We really have no set design because one of the issues that we have here in the garden, remember, is the All-America Selection display plants that we get. We can't control all of those colors, so we kind of have to mix and match. So in October, when I was ordering plants, I got a lot of kind of neutral colors to really help those colors that we can't control blend together. So as I start laying all this out, I really think about color, and I think about texture and height, and I also think about where the other plants were the year before. Remember, we keep track of all of this, so remember to keep rotating so we're not putting some of those plants in the same families together, especially those tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. So we're trying to rotate those through our garden to make sure that we are not mixing and matching all of those. And stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden this week to check it out.
Thanks, Terry. It's time for our social media question of the week from Heidi Carpenter of Omaha. She's wondering about some mysterious holes next to the back of her house, and Kyle, you are here to help us solve that mystery.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating one. I love these. These are pits for antlions. And the adults, they look a lot like a dragonfly or damselfly, not really related, but it's the larvae that make these pits. And they are these voracious predators that construct this little pit. They kind of do it by digging in backwards, spiraling around and flicking out the sand. And then they lay at the bottom with these big, giant mandibles with all kinds of spikes on them. And when a, unsuspecting little bug walks along, like an ant perhaps, it falls into that pit and it's laying right there at the bottom waiting to just grab it up and eat it. If it's lucky enough to get away initially, they flick sand at it and knock it back down and finally get their jaws around it and inject a little toxin and
Have a meal.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. So it reminds me of the Sarlacc on Star Wars in small version. But if you look at what she has in her yard, she has like a whole colony.
Yes, they are very alien looking. And sometimes too, there may not be as many as you think, because if they're not catching prey, they may kind of wander around and make new pits, and you may see the old pit still there. But yeah, there's probably quite a few there.
That's just hilarious, actually. Well, you can go to our Facebook page and post a question and picture, and you might show up on the big board next week. Just add your questions and photos in one of the comments on our post. It's time for a short break. Coming up, we've got the lightning round, plant of the week, and the weekly weather forecast. We will be right back. Welcome back to Backyard Farmer. Later in the show, we'll see how many seeds a single dandelion can produce. You can still phone in your questions to 1-800-676-5446 or send us pictures and emails to byf@unl.edu. And right now, it is time for the lightning round. Scott.
Let's do it.
We have a viewer who wants to know whether cut peonies would last until Memorial Day and how to do that.
Yes, you want to cut them tight in the bud. You're going to wrap them in a moist towel, stick them in the refrigerator, and they should hold.
Radishes are so hot. This is South Sioux. Is it the weather?
Sure, yes.
From near Swedberg, are there any camellias that are hardy in Nebraska?
Unfortunately, I don't think so.
From Omaha, will dill and cilantro cross-pollinate?
They shouldn't, no.
From Syracuse, how wide a mulch ring do you need around a big spruce?
As much of the turf as you would like to give up, at least extending out to 3 feet from the drip line.
50-year-old honey locust has teensy-weensy leaflets. Is it just the winter or is it a goner?
It could be the winter. It's been dry.
Nice job. All right, Amy.
Hard act to follow.
And I didn't stack the hort deck.
Sure.
So, Lincoln, a split in a tree is weeping. This is a volunteer elm. Is that fatal?
No, it's not fatal, but it's a volunteer elm. There's better tree options.
All right. This person can't rotate all the soil in what they've described as big raised beds. Is there any sort of powder to put on the soil that will stop soil-borne diseases?
No, there is not. You could try sterilization, but that's going to take all summer to get it heated up.
Papillion, the powdery mildew seems to then cause holes in the leaves of the trees. Have you seen that before?
Powdery mildew shouldn't cause any holes in the leaves. It needs the leaves to survive.
All right. What is the frog eye disease of turf, and are we seeing it now?
Necrotic ring patch. Yes, we are seeing some of that right now in some areas.
It hailed on rhubarb again in Seward. This is the second time diseases probably, or call it good?
Nah, cross your fingers and hope. Maybe it'll be just fine. If we get some rain this weekend, it will definitely help it.
All right. Terry.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
How do you keep glyphosate from rolling off the leaves of lily of the valley? He wants to kill them.
Oh my goodness, I love Lily Valley. You would need to put a stickum in it, so it's like an extra chemical. It's kind of like a soapy chemical that helps hold it.
All right. York, they have a 60-40 mix of zoysia and Kentucky blue on purpose and want to know when to fertilize, since those are two different grasses.
Good question.
The word is
60,
pass.
40s, pass.
Aurora, he has not aerated. It is rock hard. How long should he water before he calls to aerate?
You're going to probably have to water pretty deep.
All right. Why don't we recommend dethatching?
Dethatching really does kind of mess with the crown and stuff. Honestly, the best way to manage your turf is just aeration.
All right. Okay, good. South Bend, can she dump unused fishing worms in the garden? And if she does, will they take and give her more?
I wouldn't do that, no.
Okay. This person found Lincoln, a tick that was all brown with no white spot. Is that the new dangerous one?
I would need to see it.
All right. There's a big, huge mound in apparently southwest Nebraska with red ants in it. Is that a dangerous ant?
It's probably harvester ants, which can sting.
All right. Is the time past for treating for emerald ash borer?
I don't think so.
All right. Lincoln, a huge bee swarm got taken out of a tree in South Lincoln. Will they swarm in the same spot again next year?
No, not necessarily.
All right. Radishes, is it wireworms that ruin the radish itself or some other thing underground?
Pass. I don't know. I don't know if wireworms do or grubs.
Roly-polies.
All right, you guys. I hate to say, and I didn't stack the deck.
I don't know. You
Give it to
had
Scott.
hard questions for lightning round.
They're not from me.
They're hard
Our
questions.
viewers ask us great questions. We've had another spectacular ornamental for you tonight. Let's hear about the plant of the week from Emma Coos at controlIris Garden Center.
Hi, this week for the plant of the week, we have the Rose of Sharon. This gorgeous plant is a great specimen ornamental plant for our gardens because it has these showy, gorgeous flowers. These flowers remind us a lot of the hibiscus, which they're in the same family, but these are actually hardy for zones 5 through 9, which makes them perfect for us here in Nebraska because we get that tropical flair while still having them come back each year. One of my favorite things about them is the size that they can get to. These guys are gonna get really, really big, typically ranging 8 to 12 feet in size. So when you plant them, they need some serious space to grow. They're gonna wanna be planted in full sun, and once you get them established, they're very tolerant for their soil types. And for pruning, we're gonna prune them late winter, early spring, so that they can get more growth throughout the spring season and better flowering. We're gonna water them in after planting, and then they should be pretty tolerant of any soil. Let's send it over to Gannon for the weather.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We have a pretty active week ahead of us, so let's get right on into it. There's no sugarcoating it. It's gonna be a warm one through the weekend with highs in the 80s and 90s and maybe even a daily record or two broken. On Monday, a cold front will begin to push through the state, and by Tuesday, just about everybody should be in the 70s. For most of next week, it should stay the same in the 70s, but a few places may creep up into the lower 80s. With precipitation this week, there's a little bit of a risk and reward. There's daily chances of thunderstorms through the middle of next week, but they're likely to be severe. There's still some uncertainties and things that need to fall into place, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on in the coming days. We desperately need the moisture, so the risk is kind of worth the reward. And that's your week of weather forecast. Back to you guys.
We have great announcements of things in the gardening world, starting with us, Backyard Farmer at Schramm Park State Recreation Area, Saturday, May 30th. And it is free parking and free pass, and it is just going to be fabulous with everything going on. So come see us and bring your questions. Then we have OPS Special Education Transition Program Pop-Up Market, May 15th and May 16th, North 72nd Street in Omaha. That'll be great. Garden Club of Lincoln is having its plant sale the 16th at Southern Heights Presbyterian Church, and this is one where free will donation and lots of native plants. Free compost demonstration by Nebraska Extension Master Gardeners, Saturday the 16th at Pioneers Park here in Lincoln, and the Monument Valley Iris Show. So that one is all the way out in the Panhandle Research and Extension Center, Saturday, May 23rd and Sunday, May 24th. Lots of information on that one on their website. So glad you brought those iris, Scott. All right, round 3 from Palmer, Nebraska. What kind of galls are these on our oak tree, and are they treatable? And she is 13 years old and has been watching us for 4 years.
Impressive. They're oak bullet galls. They're caused by Synipid gall wasp. Not really treatable, also not necessary. So they have they make different galls in the spring and in the fall. These would be from the fall. So there's nothing in there now, but getting the timing right is almost impossible and not practical. And so, if you have a lot, you can just kind of pull those or prune them off.
All right. Speaking of galls, this is B. Nebraska. Are these galls of some sort on her chokecherry?
Yeah, these are called finger galls, and these particular galls are caused by an aerophyid mite. Totally cosmetic, don't hurt the plant. So really nothing you need to do on these.
All right. From Clarkson, these two pictures showed up on her William Baffin rose.
Yes, another gall. This spiny rose gall. This is, again, just one that I would just prune out. Otherwise, really no treatment. It's not hurting the plant, just kind of unsightly, so just prune them out.
That's a fun one. Terry, 3 from Weston. The grass in her front yard is dead. What should she do? Is it even fixable? So we have, I think, 3 pictures showing what happened here.
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot where you have that tree turf kind of competition, and I think that's what you have here. Usually I'm going to recommend no turf underneath the trees because the tree usually wins out. She looks like she has a little bit of mulch or something, a mulch bed off to the side. I would probably just extend that mulch bed out. If you really do want some like turf look underneath there, you could go with like a sedge. There's some really cute little ones that you can do that, and then you eliminate mowing too. So.
All right. Moved into a new home in Lincoln on this one. She's finding this grass. She knows it's a weed. Is it annual or perennial?
I think this is downy brome. So this would be, if you can come help pull it out of the backyard farmer garden too if you'd like. But just keep pulling it. Don't let it go to seed.
All right. And from Carney, this is a tree that the roots are exposed. Here's the base. She's wondering, they want to keep the tree. It's an ash. The roots are all exposed. She wants to cover it with several inches of soil and then plant turf. So what do we think on this one?
I would not recommend that at all. I think I would go back to kind of that tree grass competition. Do not cover your roots that deep with soil. I would just put a light mulch over that and I'll call it good. And I would also keep an eye on that tree because it looked like you have a lot of girdling roots around that tree too. So I would really keep an eye on the health of that tree.
All right. From Takema, we have peach trees that did not flower. The leaves have lesions on them. And that's, I think, our first 2 pictures. You can see they're not doing very well.
So I'll address not flowering. I would assume that maybe they got hit by frost and killed the blossom. But the next picture you're going to see is the damage on the leaf. And this is peach leaf curl. It's a very common fungal disease that we'll see develop. These leaves do eventually turn yellow and will drop, but typically not a big concern. We'll get another flush of leaves coming on soon. If you want to manage it, we're way past that window. We have to do those fungicide applications at bud break.
All right, and from North Bend, what happened to her peach tree? Healthy until the 5th. Now the leaves are falling off in great numbers, and the remaining ones are showing white spots.
So this one actually had me stump a little bit. When I look at the white spots in the next photo, it doesn't look real fungal to me. To me, the white spots look more like sun scald. So we had dew and then it got really warm. Once again, I would probably look at the temperatures fluctuations. We did have some frost in those areas. We should be getting another flush of leaves coming on here soon. I wouldn't be too concerned right now.
All right. So 2 pics here, and this is what is causing the lawn to look like this. He did treat for grubs and he already applied fertilizer.
This is our wonderful friend Ascochyta blight. I know a couple of weeks ago there was a lot of discussion about it. The big thing is it's short-lived. Usually it will take care of itself within 2 to 3 weeks. Make sure you're watering. Do not mow when it's wet, and make sure your mowing height is, I like that 2.5 to 3 inches in height. Don't cut it too short.
Great. From Sumner, Scott, this tree looks like it's split and is leaking. They've got 15 years in it, and it came from another tree, so.
It's always sad to see cracking in a tree, and especially when you're about 15 years into the growth. Don't bolt it, do not band it. We're not making Frankenstein's monster. Unfortunately, this tree is going to have to come out.
All right, and 2 transplanted bur oaks, about 5 years old. 2 trunks and a smaller one. Does he need to pick one, or will they be okay if they all just grow well together in the same spot?
Oaks are a big tree. We don't sell clump oak trees for a reason, so you're going to need to find which one is the strongest, the healthiest, and keep that and take out the other one.
All right. You may have noticed here in Lincoln that there's been an explosion of dandelions. We've even had quite a crop at the Backyard Farmer Garden. Here's Jeff to tell us why so many dandelions have popped up and what you can do about it.
This year has been a heck of a year for dandelions. Everywhere you go, you're going to see a little population of dandelions. On campus, we've had several little problems with them. There's a lot of reasons for that. We had a mild winter, it was dry. We must have had a good flowering of some dandelions last year because we had a lot of seeds get established over the summer and into the fall. And then we probably didn't do a very good job following up last fall, trying to get the small plants as they were just developing, which is the ideal time. August and September is a perfect time to do some weed control. So what do we do now? A couple of things to remember. First of all, each one of these plants can produce up to 20,000 seeds. So that's a lot of dandelions. So we want to try to control these. My first suggestion is make sure we're keeping them mowed. We don't want them flowering. We don't want them producing seeds. So if you do anything, that's the first thing you want to do. If you're able to, and you're able to use some herbicide control, a 3-way weed killer will really handle a lot of these and take care of them right now. And then you're going to want to follow up again this fall. If you decide to want to try to dig these, make sure you get down at least 4 or 5 inches. You want to get as much of the root as possible. You don't want to just take the tops off. So let's follow up with a little herbicide treatment, keep things mowed, some pre-emergent this fall, and another round of spraying this fall. And we should have our dandelions under control, and hopefully next year it won't be yellow flowers everywhere.
You can put a dent in the dandelions this spring by mowing, pulling, or spraying. But as Jeff said, the best time to get rid of the problem is with a herbicide application in the fall. All right, it's great pleasure to go like that, though. Okay, let's see. Nemaha County, Kyle, what is this? It was under a wood step. It's about 3.5 inches long.
It's Polyphemus moth again. It looks like a male because of the nice feathery antennae. Yeah, and they are, you can't tell as much because the wings are closed, but one of our most attractive, showiest moths. Very, very beautiful.
I think we've had more Polyphemus moths this year than in years and years.
I've seen a lot.
It's great. So Lincoln, she found this digging in an iris bed this morning. They were in the soil, not the rhizomes. Are they young iris borers or are they something else?
They are something else, not going to hurt your iris. They're white grubs, probably from the turf, probably one of the turf pests. It shouldn't really be a problem in there, but keep an eye on the turf.
All right, and this guy is from Underwood, Iowa. Obviously, I think a little bigger. Is this a good guy or a bad guy grub?
Yeah, again, looks like, presumably it's one of the white grubs in turf, so not a good guy, but not really, finding them this time of year, not really a problem, not anything to do, but keep an eye in case you need to treat later.
All right. Terry from Omaha, he's got this in his lawn. Should he pull these or let them flower?
I think it's one of the geums. I'm not for sure which one it is, but I guess that's up to you. If you want to dig it up and put it somewhere else and enjoy it, you could. I probably wouldn't leave it in my turf, but I mean, sometimes it's fun just to experiment.
Scott's shaking his head. No, 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 no.
It's a nasty.
Well, you can experiment.
All right. So in Lincoln, Terry, one picture, what can be sprayed over the top of the buffalo grass to kill the weeds, but not the buffalo grass?
So you have to be very careful. There's two things that you could potentially do, drive, which is quinclorac, or you can use tenacity. But you need to make sure that the turf is at least a year old, and you need to be very careful, follow all of the instructions on the bottle. So.
All right, read that label.
Yes.
Amy, they were planting tomatoes, and while digging a hole, they pulled this up, 2.5 inches outside diameter and about 8 inches long, and they saw nothing 4 weeks ago. They said it absolutely smelled awful. What is this?
It's Larry 2.0. You had to watch the show last week. I'll put that as a disclaimer. So Mike last week had what he called Larry that came out of the backyard farmer garden that was very large and strange. From Mike's conclusion and talking to other folks, it's some type of maybe slime mold, puff mushroom, don't really know. It has now been called Larry. And so this is Larry 2.0. So if you want to see more about it, go and watch the samples from last week's show with Mike.
Thanks, Amy. So this is asters. So spots, they're currently watering them once a day, sometimes once every 2 days. She's wondering, are they overwatering? And is there any treatment?
So they can get a fungal leaf spot, usually in that septoria. The next photo, you can start seeing some black spots on there. But the big trick with it, fungal diseases love moisture. And watering every day, it might be a little too much. So make sure when we're looking at watering, sticking your finger down in that soil profile, seeing if it's wet. If it's damp, don't water. If it seems really bone dry, go ahead and then water. That's going to help all those plants in that landscape bed as a whole, and also will prevent any crown rot that we could have developed too from it.
Well, and I think we talked probably last week about overwatering and underwatering. They both wilt.
They do, and you have to stick your finger in there. There's no other way around it. Sorry, folks.
Right, well, that's okay. That's, what fingernails are for, or not.
No fingernails. That's the reason why we have dirt underneath our fingernails. We're all gardeners.
Exactly. All right, Scott, we have from Lincoln, this is the second year for this plant. She did not plant it.
No. And you don't want to plant it. This is one of our invasive honeysuckles. We have about 3, maybe 4 invasive bush honeysuckles. They spread by berries. They produce gorgeous, fragrant flowers, just outstanding. And then they produce really tiny, cute red berries that the birds like to eat and distribute everywhere. To get rid of this plant, you're going to have to cut it down to the ground, maybe about 1 inch off the ground, and then you're going to use a brush and stump killer. This is a 1-2 process. You cut, then you're going to grab that product and paint it on. If it's more than 10 minutes, you're going to have to cut again and paint. But amber honeysuckles, and they're invasive species. They're crowding out a lot of plants, so please get rid of it.
Thank you, Scott. And actually, one of those pictures was from Des Moines. And if anybody wants to see it, come look in the backyard farmer garden under the trees, because we keep fighting it. All right, Scott, what is causing this on the daylilies in this spot? He has replaced the soil this year, but the same thing is happening. He's had other things in the same spot, irises, and he said the same thing happened to them.
When I was looking up close, it doesn't look like a pathogen or insect. This looks more like accidental herbicide. We've all done it. We've gotten the wrong bottle, we've sprayed the wrong plant, and they leave these with glyphosate, they will leave bleached out marks on the plant. Daylilies are really tough to kill. So hopefully that plant's going to come back. Keep it well watered. Don't overwater. Use your finger to measure that soil moisture, but it should be okay.
Yeah, and maybe that in combination with something weird just in the soil in that one narrow
It's
spot.
a really tiny spot. It's really rough to keep those plants well hydrated. If nothing makes it this year, maybe it's time to take out the plants, put in some rock, and put containers on top of the rocks. It would be so much easier.
Yeah, and then you could maybe grow a tomato.
Grow a tomato, lots of fun things, but tiny strips are just, they're just so challenging because they don't hold water. You have that heat reflection off the fence, so maybe creative, put yard art. There's lots of fun things that somebody could do.
All right, thank you, Scott. And that's all the time we have for Backyard Farmer tonight. Thanks to everyone who submitted a question and to our panel for another great show. Helping us on the phones were Master Gardeners Gary Bell, John Cariato, and Linda Helton. Next time on Backyard Farmer, we'll hear about the hazardous fire conditions in our state, especially out west. Ben Bohall from the Nebraska Forest Service will help us see what are the vulnerable spots around the state. So good night, good gardening, and we'll see you all next week right here on Backyard Farmer.